everybody, and welcome to Called Up the Prospects podcast. I'm Chris Peters from FloHockey, joined, as always, by Cam Robinson of Elite Prospects. And Cam, great to be with you today, as always. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well, buddy. We got an early morning show here going. I was just saying, I got my kid stick handle in the next room. He's got tryouts this week. It's fun and it's nerve wracking for the kids, and it's a good time of year though. That means hockey season is officially starting for us.
Yeah, absolutely. We have tryouts going here as well, and I am, I've got the 10Us and the 14Us, and we got them all going. And it's a lot of fun. And I will say, obviously we love the sport. We get to talk about it every day. That's probably, some of the things that matter most to me in the game is, obviously spending the time with my kids, but also having the chance to spend the
Oof.
time with all those kids and helping them try to get better and love the game as much as we do. And it's great to have that. But Cam, we have to start today's show, obviously on a bit of a somber tone. You and I both have obviously been, kind of talking about this for the better part of the last week. But if you are a fan of hockey, you probably have heard at this point about Matthew Mayich. And Matthew is the Arizona State player that collapsed during an off-ice training. And he is, an alum of the Ottawa 67s. He played for Vermont last season, transferred to Arizona State this year. And Matthew is currently in the hospital. Details are scant. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about what's going on. But Cam, I mean, you and I both, we've kind of been following this very closely, and it is definitely one of those things that you just never want to have to hear about.
Oh, just heartbreaking. When I first got a phone call from an executive asking if I'd heard about what was going on there, long before it came out, it was just, you hope that the information was wrong. You hope that somewhere
Yeah.
along the game of telephone that someone got something wrong, and it was, yeah, a little bit of heat stroke and all good sort of thing. So just like you said, we can talk about what happened down the road. Right now, all that matters is this young man's health, and we just wish him all the best, and hopefully that this can have a positive end to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're certainly hoping for the best possible outcome for Matthew, for his family, for his friends.
Mm.
Obviously, we're thinking of all the players that I'm sure have had to struggle with, seeing a teammate in distress here. And Matthew is a draft pick of the St. Louis Blues. The Blues did put out a statement, just basically the same that all of us are saying. We just are, obviously hoping and praying for Matthew, and hoping that things go in the best possible way for him. And yeah, as Cam said, there's going to be plenty of time to have conversations about the hows and the whys. But right now, we're just thinking about Matthew, and we wanted to make sure that we shared, obviously one of the best things about the hockey community is that we come together in times of distress. Unfortunately, we've had to do it so often lately, not necessarily in
Hmm.
situations like these, but it seems like we've had a lot of episodes where we've wanted to talk about somebody in this way, and obviously not with the highest spirits about kind of what's been going on. But our thoughts are with Matthew, his family, and definitely, if you're a listener of this show, please keep them in your thoughts as well. We do have plenty to get to today. We're going to talk a little bit about college hockey in general, and
Hmm.
also some of the things that we would normally talk about on this show. So as we continue to think about Matthew and everybody involved there, we're going to continue with the business as usual here. And Cam, it was a very newsworthy week this past week when it came to college commitments, and that is particularly true of the two big gets for the University of Michigan over the past week. Why don't you tell us about the two players that have made their intentions known for 2027-28?
Yeah, so Dima Zhilkin, obviously, our good buddy Scott Wheeler, he broke that. Good get there for Michigan, huge. Right now, the one thing I will say is, I made I made the little tongue in cheek comment on Twitter. And I knew Dan would
Oh,
be
we
either
saw it.
texting me or tweeting at me within minutes. I was surprised it took him that long to find it. Dan and I have a good relationship. I had no problem with that. That was fun. And it was just, there's just been it's not just Klepov who signed his ELC. There's usually kind of a gold star kid every year that Gridden, a couple years ago. Like it happens, and it's fine. It's like it's not just going to be gold star clients that pull up for this. But you look at Dima Zhilkin,
Yeah.
and I wonder if I'm Michigan, if I'm thinking, awesome, we got the commit. Well, let's see how the season goes, right? If he ends up going top 5, top 6, top 7, like there's a world where he's signing that ELC and he's not in Michigan next year. Now, SGC, Gordon-Carroll also committing. I got that one, which is nice. Really great player out of sorry, Scott, you can beat me on that one. Really, really nice player out of Medhat. Like I think that this kid is primed for like a big pop this season. They're gonna have a good team with the Rocks coming back too. He's like underrated, I think, with his skill set too. Like 5-on-5 production last year was really, really high. Great details, energy, defensive habits. Like he's a player. And I think that he's one of these guys that I think we're going to see rise up on a lot of public lists throughout the season and then be like a really impactful guy for Michigan next year as they're kind of transitioning, right? They're going to be losing some players next year. They
Yes.
know it. And now they're going to be looking for that next flight of talent to keep them going for a year or two. And SGC there, I think, is a great pickup for them. And they're for sure, I mean, nothing's ever for sure in hockey, but I think really likely to have them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd say, like, yeah, Shaeffer Gordon-Carroll, Utah native as well, so not a lot of those running around here in hockey. Was part of that Holinka Gretzky Cup team not this past summer, but last summer before, where they won it all. Both of these players are late birth dates, which is the other kind of factor, like you mentioned, Cam, when we're talking about Zhilkin. It's not necessarily whether or not he's going to stick with the commitment to Michigan. It's whether or not the team that drafts him says, hey, you know what, we'd like to get you under contract now. We'll give you a chance in camp. And then if it doesn't work out, similar to Klepov, you're going to have to go back, you're going to have to go back or whatever. But, that's kind of the whole thing that's going to have to happen here. But I think, Shaeffer Gordon-Carroll is a really interesting player as well. And you mentioned he played in the WHL over the last 2 seasons. So, he's gotten that experience. Only appeared in 41 games last year, but over those 41 games, 37 points, and then had a solid postseason with Medhat as well. Obviously was part of the team with Gavin McKenna 2 years ago, played in the Memorial Cup. So he's got some great experience kind of under his belt. So this is 2 big pickups for Michigan. And the one thing I wanted to talk about too, Cam, is kind of the philosophy here. And you mentioned that this is kind of going to be a bit of a transition period because we expect Michigan's going to have a lot of losses from this season's team. Michael Hage was almost a surprise to come back for this season, and so there's a lot of different things that we're going to kind of keep an eye on. And in this landscape, which we're going to talk about as well in a little bit, just the way that things have changed. Things can change kind of quickly. We've seen late commits in the last couple of weeks. We've seen guys go to college. We've seen guys, like in Klepov's case, sign their ELC when it wasn't expected. Michigan definitely is, I think, when you play in the sandbox they're playing in, which is as many high performing players as you can potentially get burned. But my question is, like, again, I think this is always going to be the question, is this going to be a winning philosophy? It's certainly a great, great for marketing and everything else, but can they win with this group? And how much pressure is on that team to win this year with the amount of returnees they have coming back?
Massive pressure, I think, massive pressure. And I think Nara has done a great job of leading that group, right? Like there's just signing first round picks and getting them into the lineup and then letting them freewheel and be like, use your talent and go play.
Right.
But I don't think that's what Michigan, Nardo is one of the best coaches in college hockey, one of the best coaches outside of the NHL. And I think he's building this program up in the right way. And I don't think we've talked about this on the show. And excuse me if I'm wrong about that. But their hiring of Andrew Brewer recently to be the GM, I think is really telling too, right? There is very few GMs in college hockey. Bryn Chiswick in North Dakota, and he has kind of, I think he still has the associate coach tag as well too, which is like how some schools have kind of
they're essentially coaches on top of the
And I know with Bryn, like he's not. His job is upstairs, like building that roster.
Go get the players.
Not going on the ice, not right. Go get the players. And to bring in a guy, Andrew Brewer. And for those who don't know, Andrew Brewer, former, worked with the Leafs. He was, video coach with the Ducks. He's had experience with Team Canada, like winning gold medals at the Olympics, and lots of Hockey Canada experience. And just like one of the best guys and thinkers in the game. Like he's one of these guys that I look at as like, I think that's a really smart move to move from like video coaching into this role, because like I could see him being an executive in the NHL one day. And to have someone is that their
Right.
pure job is to think strategic and to think long term, and not just how do we recruit these name brand players, but how do we build a truly like national championship caliber team year over year, which is what's expected out of Michigan, which is expected out of Denver and Michigan State and these clubs in North Dakota. Um, and you'll see more of these big schools, I think, add that role. But whether or not it works, we'll see. Like, they haven't been to a final in what, 15 years. They haven't won a natty in nearly 30. They are Michigan.
Yep.
They get big pulls. They get big names. But I don't know about you. You've been focusing on college hockey for longer than I have, years and years and years, decades probably. Have they had a better roster in recent memory on paper than they do this year? They've got top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean,
Top
I
to bottom.
maybe you could think about like the Owen Power, Luke Hughes,
Kent
that when they
Johnson.
had guys that came
Yeah.
back to school, that
Mm-hmm.
was the Kent Johnson, like that was maybe just in terms of because they had the experience of the season before, getting a number one pick to return to school
Back.
was a
Yeah.
big deal. And Power was a much better sophomore than he was a freshman. And so like but you look at Hage, like Hage is a Hobie Baker candidate, full stop, like maybe even the favorite this season.
Yeah.
Ivan Kovic, like the goaltending situation, that's where you can really make a difference. And like for
Yeah.
many years, Michigan did not have that. Like they've had good goalies,
Mm-hmm.
but they like really, when did they win? They won with Marty Turco. And that has
Mm-hmm.
been one of the toughest positions for them to fill long term. They've had lots of guys that have come in and done well there. But just, that's always been a point. Ivan Kovic is a national championship caliber goaltender, in my view. So that's a big
I think
part of
so
it. So
too.
they've got a lot of things in place. Then you throw in Landon DuPont this year. What kind of difference can he make in year one? I think a pretty large one. What can Cameron Reed do in year one? They have a great freshman class coming in, but they did get all those guys returning, and you get the guys like a Jaden Perron who really seemed to blossom and open up his career last year. So it's not all just the big names and guys like that, but there's still the question is always going to be, do you have the veteran older team versus the younger more skilled team, and what is the correct balance? They still have a lot of inexperience on their roster even with the guys that are
Mm-hmm.
returning. So
Mm-hmm.
but I think of guys like Malcolm Spence and others that can play the role that you need to play a winning brand of hockey, and we'll see
Yep.
where it goes. So, in my
Will
view,
Horkoff.
this
Yep.
year probably is one of their best chances. But the question is going to be: are they better than Michigan State? Are they better than Denver? Those are the teams that you're going to be chasing for the national championship. Are they better than North Dakota? Like there's a lot of questions, and we're going to get a chance to see that. Michigan plays Denver like right away this year, which is unreal.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I mean, we're going to get a great look at it. And the other thing too, Cam, I just want to go back on that point that you made about Andrew Brewer, because this has been an underlying trend in college hockey. There have been a number of hirings that did not get the publicity, but the number of former NHL scouts that are transitioning into assistant or associate coach roles, and their job is
Mm-hmm.
primarily to do the scouting,
Recruiting.
do the recruiting, and
Yeah.
they may not have the GM title like Bryn Chiswick does. I think GM and chief of staff is Brewer's title, which is that's a lot of big titles in one. Um, and there's Tavis McMillan who's been with Denver for years and years and really is been a right hand guy for David Carl.
DC.
He was a scout
Mm-hmm.
as well prior to, so like, and he's kind of transitioned a little bit. They did do a title shift for him as well. And look at the guys he's brought in the last few years. So
Mm.
it is the player procurement of college hockey has become the biggest arms race going, and it's only getting bigger. So,
Oh, and I think
any last thoughts on this? Because
Denver.
yeah, oh
I
yeah,
was just gonna
that's a
say is that
team.
I don't think, and I don't think Denver's like, they're not just like satisfied. I heard some buzz that maybe one or two of those super exciting 2028s have already made a visit down there to hang out in Denver and check it out. Well ahead of making that commitment too. So they're putting in the work early to keep that train rolling.
Yeah, I think that and this kind of actually brings us into our next topic of conversation rather seamlessly, because this is just a continuation, but I wanted to talk about the changing landscape and Denver, like, going after those players. The recruiting race has
Mm,
become an incredible thing to watch, and getting these players, I'm sure that Denver, I can't speak truthfully, like, to knowing whether what all teams were involved in Shaeffer, Gordon-Carroll, but for a long time, Denver kind of had the market cornered on the Western United States on bringing kids in from.
mm.
That was for a long time the closest place that they could play, until like Arizona State came along and other things like that. So we're seeing this rapid change, and with that, like, Tavis did get that GM tag on top of being the assistant coach at Denver, and as we see that, like, this has been wild. And Cam, I wanted to share with you, like, this was a big topic of conversation last week. Spit and Chicklets
Mm.
had a segment about it as well, about how Boston University, which is where Ryan Whitney played his college hockey, there was it was shared that they didn't have any Americans on the roster. They have Americans on the roster. They don't have any Americans in their freshman class for the first time ever in that program's history. And that is going to continue. Like, not just, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that's necessarily going to be like every year for BU, but I'm just saying there are going to be more recruiting classes with fewer American players based on what we're seeing, because the numbers are bearing that out right now.
Yeah.
This has been a wild, we are in the Wild West now, but we're starting to get an idea of what it's going to look like going forward, Cam. And the massive influx of former CHL players leaving before their junior eligibility is exhausted has risen dramatically year over year. So my first question to you is that a big problem for junior hockey? And is this the trend that will continue for college hockey? Because that, and I'll get into the issues with that as well, but let's start there. Is this an issue for
Is this
junior
a
hockey to lose these players as early as they are?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
issue for junior hockey. Um, it's an issue that they should have seen coming and that they have now seen coming, and now it's here. And it's time, it's a readjustment, I would say, because you can't fight a rising tide. And so we are going to see players leave before they've exhausted their eligibility. We're going to see 18, 19-year-olds leave. We're going to see the very best 17-year-olds consider
Yeah.
it, the high end 18-year-olds consider it. And then, basically, if you're 19 and you're a draft pick and you've already played 3 years in the OHL, you're moving to school, right? Like, it's if you're a legitimate player, you're ready for the next step. And you're not one of the guys that fits into that 19-year-old rule in the American League. So it's just going to continue to happen. Now, are we going to continue to see fewer Americans? I think that's going to ebb and flow. That's going to be cyclical. We see that in draft classes as
Yeah.
well too, right? Oh, this year it's Western heavy, this year it's American heavy, this year it's Swedish heavy. Like it ebbs and flows. And we've had a couple of down cycles of Americans, and I think maybe we're on the other side of it a little bit now. Hopefully we'll get
Yeah.
a little on the upswing. And so yeah, we'll see it come and go a little bit. I don't think it's a national emergency. That you know Massachusetts universities aren't getting American freshmen in. Like, I think that's just gonna change year to year, and we don't need to call it a catastrophe. But I do think that it's just got to be recognized how, and we've talked about it a ton, right? The hierarchy has been set now. It is now, the CHL was the number one feeder to the NHL, and now it is on the second rung. The NCAA
Yeah.
is a next step for the vast majority of these players, and for coaches and for executives, and it's just that one step closer, I think, to NHL hockey.
Yeah, yeah. I think, I do want to talk a bit more about just kind of that American thing, because and I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due, because dankshow.com has been a site where they have really been tracking the um the the flow of players and the shifting
Hmm.
in demographics of college hockey, which is I think a really valuable tool to kind of see where things are. And last year I think it was somewhere around 27 players that still had CHL eligibility that went to college instead. This year, it's going to be more than 200 players that
Mm.
fit that category. That's a huge, huge shift. Now, not all of those players are Canadian. Some of them are American too. So that's, it's the American Canadian thing isn't necessarily there, but it's a huge shift. And so the percentages is where it gets really interesting on the American front, because last in 2024-25, and this is according to
Mhm.
DanKShow.com, 59% of the freshmen in college hockey were American, 30% were Canadian. Last season, that number shifted to 47.4% of freshmen being Canadian and 44.5% being American. And the European numbers went slightly down as well that year.
Mhm.
So that's a big shift. And I agree with you. I think there's some cyclical nature to that. And that we'll see. But in terms of nationality, but the reason that I think USA Hockey is going to be a little bit more concerned is we just saw an Olympic champion with primarily NCAA developed players. Now, those players are still going to make the NCAA. I'm not worried about, the US
Yeah.
falling behind in the Olympic kind of thing. But the totality of the group, the totality, the rising demographics of American players in the NHL specifically has largely followed the upswing of developmental capabilities of NCAA hockey as well. So NCAA might be based in the United States, but they are not under the USA Hockey umbrella. They are not under any obligation to take American players. They traditionally have, because the Canadian player was going to the CHL, and that was, now the rule is different. So I think it's really important for people to understand that this is a natural shift. Like, this is going to change. This is going, and it is going to go back and forth. But the other thing that this kind of brings to the table for me, Cam, is, and they've said this on Spit and Chicklets as well, and I agree completely. There's a desperate need to expand college hockey now,
Yeah.
because there
Oh yeah.
aren't enough teams for these players. Because you've got a great pool of American players, you've got a great pool of Canadian players, and now you have even more European players that are interested in your product. And you have 64 teams, and that is not going to be able to serve the funnel essentially that is kind of going that way. And it's not as easy as you think to expand. So, but Cam, when you hear numbers like that, when you hear those big dramatic shifts, do you think this is the permanent change, or do you think that we are, like, particularly when we hear like 20 some to 200 some CHL players, like, when is there going to be an evening out period, do you think, at some point here? Not necessarily evening, but like kind of almost a regression back to where we were at to start with?
I think this is how it's going to go forward. And if anything, I think the slice of the pie for the Americans might go down even further as we see more Euros
Yeah,
come over. And I also
correct.
think that we're
Yeah,
still kind of a little bit in the infancy of the Canadians coming over. Is that there? I think
right.
last year there was almost like, and I heard this from agents as well too. Is that early on, it's like the schools were like, really, once the door opened, it was like, let's get you committed, and everyone's kind of just like, let's just like see how it goes, like wait. And then by like the summer, when all these like big name players were jumping over, then it was like everybody was trying to get in. All the players were like, oh, we don't want to be the one left out. And then we see some guys maybe aren't made for school life. Like it's still, you got to go be a student. um and
Yeah.
I think we're still seeing that a little bit. That so there might be even more Canadians that are going to be more interested in coming. But I certainly think there's going to be more Euros that are interested in coming in the future too. So I do think we talked about this as soon as this decision was made. I said that the trickle down was going to be massive, and that there was going to be Division 1 hockey players, level hockey players that would no longer have spots in Div 1. And that's just how it's
Right.
going to be, right? Like naturally, that's how it's going to be. And so now we're going to see D3 is going to have D1 level players in it. ACHA, the club level, is going to have D3 players, or even like potentially D1 level, but borderline D1
Yeah.
level players. Like you need to expand out west. You need to find, but like you said, it's easier said than done. Easier said than done to do this. But some of these like big programs, like Florida and Oklahoma and these big football programs that have those ACHA's club teams, they sell out, man. Like they get a bunch of fans. Like it's good hockey. It's well supported. Those are the teams you're like, why not D1? Why not bump it up there like Penn did?
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see it. I mean, like I think and as we've talked about too on this thing, it's a little bit easier said than done. Like what we have seen in college hockey expansion has not matched what, like the player growth and the player availability. And I think when they open the floodgates to the CHL players, it like basically doubled, more than doubled the recruiting pool that they were really looking at. It significantly expanded that. And I think that there are still going to be some mistakes made by both players and teams in this scenario as well, where some players that, it was the new shiny thing. I wanted to do that. It didn't quite work out the way that I thought it would. I'm in the transfer portal and all of a sudden I don't have a seat at the table. All these different things are going to kind of go.
Hmm.
It's going to be there's still an evening out process coming, but with the expansion component, that's the thing that needs to happen. And I just don't know if it's going to be the big schools that do it. And I think if I'm a smaller institution that wants to get involved in Division One sports, like Maryville, which is in St. Louis, they
Mm.
just made the jump to D1. They have now you have this pool. Now you're probably not getting top players. You're still getting, but there are more players for you to get. And if a player wants to play D1, you now have a viable option to do so at that school where they're independent presently. Maybe they'll get into a conference and maybe we'll see some movement one way or another. But they saw what
Hmm.
Lindenwood did, and Lindenwood actually has traditionally, like especially in the first year of being able to get CHL players, they got some guys that made an immediate impact. Most of those players did transfer elsewhere, but they
Yeah.
still have that. So like these smaller institutions are probably where it's gonna be. Would I love to see the Oklahomas, the Oklahoma State, teams that are in Power Four conferences that are going to I would. You need to have a really innovative thinking athletic director who isn't laser
Yeah.
focused on football and basketball and the competing NIL situation, because that's been the other thing that's come through. NIL has changed the dynamic, but it's changed it only really for the positive for the players in major sports or in Big Ten schools, that have hockey teams like that have a little bit more money to pull from. Um,
Hmm.
Basically, it's a mess and it will continue to be a mess. And I think a lot of people are going to be frustrated and burned, but it's also the way things are going. And the biggest thing now, Cam, we see it all the time. Players have never had more power, they've never had more
Yep.
leverage, they have never had more opportunity. To me, that's a great thing for the players, but it does make for a lot of headaches for decision makers, doesn't it?
No, for sure. But I like how you brought up that Lindenwood, how they got players and then those players immediately left. That's okay. That's okay
Yeah.
too, right? You can be that stepping stone for those players too, right? Have them come to Maryville and then, oh, now I get to bump over. I got a spot at BC, right? Like that's great.
Yeah.
That's good news. And then they can use that as their recruiting pitch as well too. Yeah, we can't give you 60 grand in NIL money. No, we can't, provide you with an opportunity to win a natty this year. But we can give you the minutes to prove that you're like a capable high-end player at this level, and then you go and chase that bag, right? So that just becomes part of the process for some of these schools that just simply can't afford to compete on an NIL level or on a competitive balance level. That's okay too. We can use
Yeah.
more of those clubs in Division One hockey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I do think, like, if you're an athletic director that's looking at your athletics landscape and you're saying, is there a place where we can potentially compete? Um, the athlete pool for hockey is as deep as it's ever been at the Division One level, and now you've got that. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about in this whole thing, and that's about when players commit, because that's going to
Mm.
be, I think, an uncomfortable conversation for players and executives in major junior, but it's one that I think there is a way for everyone to kind of win. If you are making decisions at the junior level with drafts and everything else, you're obviously planning for X amount of years. You now have to plan within a shorter, tighter window, which is very difficult to do. And I do not envy the GMs at all these junior teams that have to make these draft picks and then make the decision. However, when a player makes their college commitment, it's not set in stone until really ever. And but I think if I'm a general manager of a junior team, I want to know as soon as possible what your intentions are. And also, I want to have that conversation with you, your family, and your agent about what we think the best development path is to either get you to reach that goal or to get you, to or to convince you like you need more time in junior hockey, because not everybody's going to be ready. Like the fact of the matter is that the vast majority of USHL players that were going to college were going in their age 20 season or their age 19
Yeah.
season. There were fewer 18-year-old freshmen coming out of the USHL. And that should probably be the case for a lot of these CHL players as well. It's like, no, you should play until you're 19 and then go to college. So, Cam, if you're a general manager and a player, let's say they're a 17-year-old player, they commit like as Dima Zhilkin did, because we haven't seen a
Yeah.
ton of this where the player's like, I'm going to play next season with my junior team, but just know I'm going that way. That's my next step is there. Wouldn't Would you rather know that earlier, or would you rather have like a player wait until the summer so that it doesn't look like, he's not, whatever the mentality may be like, but I have a feeling I know what you will say on this, but could you also articulate why you would prefer it that way?
Yeah, I mean, what are we hiding from here? Like this is hockey. This is the way things are starting with like 8 and 9 and 10-year olds for some of these so-called elite
Right.
level players. Is that moving from team to team is part of the process of climbing up the ladder. Just because a player says like, "Hey, I'm here for the season and then I'm not next year," I don't think that changes their standing in the dressing room. I think that that's just being realistic, and like you said, it better prepares the organization just to make their plans for the future, right? Knowing, I know that like last year again, right? It was this kind of this feeling out process of, oh, like Ryan Land and Daxon Rudolph, they're like, we're going to go to school, but when do we announce? We're still playing. We'll wait till the season to be over so that we're not like hurting anyone's feelings in the dressing room. It's like, whose feelings are going to get hurt? Like American kids have been doing this forever. BCHL kids have been doing this forever. Like it's celebrated. It's a big moment. But the difference is that I'm going to get myself into trouble here again. Is that I think that kind of the sensitivity around some of these CHL clubs, that the isolationism, that they're like, no, we're the best. We are the only place that can truly develop NHL level talent. Not the only place, but the best place to do it. And you're gonna leave us to go to school, like, and just kind of that attitude that's been swirling around it for a while. And I don't want to put that on all clubs, because I do think that some CHL clubs have done a good job of like being open and honest with their players and receiving that information and celebrating them out the door. But I think others have been like, hey, if you're not going to be here long term, we don't want you to come in the first place. It's like, okay, well, I guess don't take me third overall in the Bantam draft then. Um, we need to get past that. We need to get past that and just recognize what it is, that the whole point of whether it's tier 2 junior hockey, major junior hockey, US, like whatever, it's to get these players that are kids, for the most part, are kids, to the next level of their professional hockey careers or achieve their dreams in whatever field they end up going to. And like, let's celebrate that we're building up the player and the person, and it doesn't have to mean that your program is lesser or not valuable to their development. It's that it's now served its purpose, and I'm going to play this year here, and we're going to have a great season. I'm going to give you everything I got so that I'm ready to take that next step next year, and that you can help me get there. So let's just all
Yeah.
kumbaya and come together. Let's hold hands and circle the kids and build them up. Not we don't need to tear anybody down.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be adversarial, because I like the fact of the matter is, in watching junior hockey last year, watching the OHL, the WHL, the QMJHL, in a lot of there were some instances where it was better, and there were certainly some instances where you missed the Porter Martones and you missed some of those guys that would have otherwise been there. But you're getting more players that weren't coming before. I would much rather have a Landon DuPont than to have never had him at all. I'd rather have him for the 2 years
Yeah.
I got him. I'd rather have Maddox
Yeah.
Schultz for the year and a half or year that I get him. Those kinds of things. I would rather that could be able to say at all times, I'm a Regina Pat, I'm a Everett Silvertip, I'm a London Knight. I'm like, they will always be that. And
Mm-hmm.
shifting the way the ladder goes, like it does, like everybody kind of has to make this strategy shift now. The other thing that I think junior teams can continue to do, and I think they are doing, improving the experience for the
Yeah.
players while they're there, increasing the dollars put towards development, because they all do, like, a lot of, like, say what you want about anything, but the opportunity they are providing these players is unlike many other sports out there. You think about like football, basketball, all those things. They're playing at whatever high school, either they go to private school or they're playing with their public school team. They can't they can't have this flexibility that I think, and they don't have that junior step before they go into college. Hockey is set up in a way where this personal and professional development that exists is unlike anything in the world, and you're getting elite level coaching at much earlier ages now. So I just think that we're in a good spot as a sport. And the more that these groups can work together on timelines and on making sure you're doing right by the player, and the NHL team is involved and all those other things, ultimately I think we're going to have a much better hockey product collectively because of the way things are now. It is uncomfortable, it is messy, but ultimately we're going to get to a better overall place, I think, for the sport. But we do need more Division 1 teams. So big donors out there,
Yeah.
if you want your school to have a competitive team, and if you are one of those big schools that wants to have another sport that you can potentially dominate in, it'll take you a while, but consider hockey. So that's my pitch for all of you out there.
Big
Go
donors
for it, Cam.
also. Big donors. We also accept donations here on Called Up the Podcast.
Yeah.
Just saying.
The Called Up the Prospects podcast is open for business.
Lines are open. It's better to have loved
Yeah,
and
well,
lost than never loved at all. Yeah.
Ex- exactly. See,
That
I
was
got very
for the
got very
CHL, eh?
philosophical there, Cam.
You
It's
did.
like,
I
I
love
would much
that. Yeah.
rather have you than to have never had you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just me getting weepy now over that. But Cam, lots of great stuff. We're going to get into this topic more and more. And I think it's going to, the thing is that there's no right answer yet. We don't know, like, nobody really knows exactly where this is going to go ultimately. We just know that it's changing and the dynamic has changed, and now we have to change with it. So let's see where we end up. It's going to be fascinating to watch over the period of the time. And I would say, if you, the era of NCAA, CHL is better, all these other things, like, that era is kind of over. It's now just everybody can develop players, and hopefully there's a way for everybody to win in this, especially the players who get to achieve their dreams in the way that they want to. All right, let's before we do this, let's pay a few bills here and just remind everybody that you should be subscribing to FloHockey. The hockey season is right around the corner, and there is more hockey right here at Flo than there is anywhere else. You can stream many of the players we're talking about, including Dima Zhilkin, who will be discussing even more in depth here as we go forward. You got the OHL and the QMJHL, you got the AHL, you got the ECHL, you got the USHL. 35 plus leagues and a number of special events that we will have over the course of the season, including the 2027 IIHF Men's World Championship in the United States. Lots of great stuff coming to Flow. Get that annual subscription for the best value so you are covered all the way through the playoffs. Junior hockey starts on September 16th. Get that subscription now. Make sure you're locked in, and we will be looking forward to having you here on Flow. And Cam, it's time for the called up challenge. It's time for the called
Let's
up
go.
challenge. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it right here. So today we're gonna do our context clue, but we're bringing it kind of recent. We're going 2025 NHL draft. Cam and I will deliver a few clues to each other, and then we will try to guess that player in as few clues as possible. But we'll start. You want to kick this one off? Do you want to lead off, or do you want me to go for you? You tell me.
I'm giving you clues first.
All right, let's do it. I love it.
I
Chance to get
think you're gonna
embarrassed
crush
right
this
now.
one.
Okay.
2025 though, that was like 20 minutes ago. You got this. You've
20,
got
it
this.
feels like it, but
Okay?
I forget
It
draft
does.
classes as soon as they're over.
Remember, Chris, whenever you learn something new, it pushes something old out of your brain. Like that time you took the home winemaking course and forgot how to
NHL
drive.
draft trivia is one of those things.
Chris, you were drunk.
All right, let's give it let's give it a shot.
All right. First round pick. Okay, we're making him a first rounder.
Okay.
He's nice and easy.
Okay, there's 32
Let
of
me give you
those.
this here too. USHL Rookie of the Year. Once upon a time.
USHL Rookie of the Year. for
Rookie of the
2025.
year. Not saying what year it was, just saying he was.
Just he was a rookie of the year. Okay, USHL rookie of the
I'm not
year.
saying you're wrong either.
See, this is what gets
He's got
pushed out of
himself
my brain right away. I
right.
need one more clue.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this one's probably not even going to help you that much, but he got a bronze at the Holinka. So that tells you what Holinka team he may or may not have been on.
Bronze at the Hlinka, rookie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So bronze at the Hlinka that year. So then Tynan Lawrence. Wait, no, he was last
No.
year's draft. What am I doing?
Correct.
This
Yeah.
is
He was
2026.
26. Yeah. See, this is like me
This
with
is
the Brant
awful.
Clark thing last week. Yeah, this is me with
I
Brant
know
Clark.
that's yeah. See, there you go.
Myself.
There you go. See, now we're even. So all right.
Yeah.
Bronze. Oh man.
I thought you'd
Was
have
it
this one.
Sasha Boisvert?
No. Nice try. Wasn't he?
I hate myself now.
No.
No, he's yeah. All right, I need one more clue.
He was a 24, right? He was a 24.
Yeah, I'm all over the map now.
Okay, I'm gonna really lay this one out for you. Played for the Spartans this past season.
Played for the Spartans this past season. This past season. Why is this so hard? This should not be this hard.
I like that it is this hard. I did not expect this.
Yeah, I mean, like this is gonna make you're gonna look really good on the next one. So played for the Spartans last season, trying to think of their entire freshman class. Riker Lee.
There we go. What a guy.
I hate everything about myself.
We'll just cut a bunch of that stuff up, and then you can just like jump straight to.
Yeah, we're gonna make it look better. And next time I owe you one. So that was good. Yeah, Riker Lee. I see. That's the thing is like
I like that.
I'm like right around it for all the other rookies of the year in the USHL, and for whatever reason, Riker Lee left my brain. He's gonna be a real exciting player to watch this year, by the way. Big piece of that Spartan club. So, all right, my turn to hopefully do, give you the chance, but we're gonna try this. We're gonna try this a little bit more. I'm gonna get a little bit weird on this one. Let's get weird with it.
I don't love the sound of that. I don't love the sound of that.
Hang on, I just got to make sure I do my math right on this clue because I have my first clue. I realized that I forgot to double check my. We like to be accurate here, and I forgot to double check my thing here. So let me see. All right, yeah. This player had second. He's second in points per game in the NHL among 2025 draft eligibles last year.
Oh, it sounds promising. There's only going to be like 5 of them.
There's not many. But this is a little bit tricky in that he is second in points per game among 2025 NHL draft eligibles.
Okay, second in points per game. Okay. Not raw points. I'm sensing something here. Yeah.
Yep. First round pick, which, probably goes without saying at this point.
Naturally.
Right? With that. Yeah, with that. Only first round picks played in the NHL last season.
Okay.
And by the way, that points per game, it was a minimum of 5 games played. I should have said that too. Minimum of 5 games played.
Okay.
So maybe that'll help you a little bit. Okay.
Useful.
So that's kind of like a clue within a clue. All right.
Yeah, I thought you were going to try to go weird on me with like Victor Eklund or something.
Yeah, that would have been not fair because he did play one game and did have 1 assist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. This player is a World Junior Championship gold medalist, but not Victor Eklund.
Oh, see, you would have got me on that. If you didn't say 5-game min, I would have guessed Eklund for sure. So it's got to be Frodo.
Yes. Anton Frondell. 9 points in 12 games last year. Who is number 1 in points per game with a minimum of 5 games played?
A minimum. So I mean, gosh, number one, Shafe didn't do that. Minimum of 5 games played and had more. What did you say? Frundell had 9 and 12.
More than 5 games played.
We were just Martone. He came out and he was better in a PPG,
Yes,
right?
Porter Martone. Yep, Porter Martone had 10 points in 9 games. Also, by the way,
Yeah.
Shaeffer is third among the minimum guys. He had 0.71 points per game last year. So like Frundell had
Like 80.
0.75. So it was like a little tricky one. So Anton Frundell is the answer. There were only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players from the draft class that played in games last season. 2 of them played the full season, with Kindle and Shaeffer playing over 70 games. Misa played 45, had 21 points. So 2025 draft
He's gonna
class.
pop this
A
year.
lot of guys. Yeah, that is going to be the group to watch, right? You got Martone is an absolute Calder, guy,
Oh
a
yeah.
guy that we can watch at.
Oh yeah.
Frundell is going to be interesting. Like, what step does he take? How much, where is Chicago going to utilize him? So I can't wait for that. But thank you for embarrassing me and not embarrassing yourself today, Cam, because that is
You
what
made
we
it a
do.
little
If
easier
one of
on
us
me
has to
though.
get,
That was friendly.
it
Yeah,
was,
we
but I
gotta
was
get one
also
of us.
like, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave you the clue within the clue, which I wasn't initially going to do, but I think it was only fair after, uh, just me kind of going a little bit off book last week. So that's the
Mm.
called up challenge right there. That's the time where we get to pick on each other as co-hosts. But we're going to move on to our other one of our other segments, Beyond Belief, and we obviously will read a
Mhm.
statement to each other and we'll decide whether it's believable or beyond belief. It'll often involve some of the topics we've already talked about, but kind of an offshoot of that, maybe create a little bit of an extra discussion. So, in Beyond Belief, I'll start off, Cam, with this one. College hockey adds more than 5 programs in the next 10 years. More than 5 programs in the next 10 years. Believable or beyond
I
belief?
just
That's a lot. That's a big growth over a
a
10-year
lot.
period for college hockey.
I'm an ideas man. I run on enthusiasm. I'm gonna say it's believable. I don't think it's likely, but I want to believe that in the next 10 years, I mean, that fits nicely with I got some kids coming up that want to play college hockey one day that I coach too. And so let's get some more
Yeah.
slots open. So yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Let's go. They add
I think
six.
5 and 10 is reasonable. It I think we're going to
Yeah.
gain some and lose some along the way too. Like, I think that's going to happen a
Yeah.
little bit. Like, I think some of the smaller schools are going to maybe have bitten off a little bit more than they can chew. Some of the bigger schools that have the backing, that have the opportunity, those are the ones that have potential staying power. I think that what's going to be really interesting is geographically. Right now, we're in a weird state with, you know, Lindenwood is independent. The Alaskas are independent. Maryville is going to start as an independent. LIU, Long Island, is independent. Where are these teams going to ultimately end up?
Hmm.
And trying to figure things out where, can they fit into a conference and do they have a long-term home? And then there's all sorts of other stuff kind of going on. But I do think, I think 5 and 10 is very reasonable. It just may not be the programs that everybody wants it to be, like the big name brand
It's okay.
Power 4 schools. And
It's
if it
okay.
isn't, still more slots, still more slots.
No more slots.
That's what we like. All right.
We like it a lot.
I like it a
Okay,
lot.
I got one here. We're gonna see another big name 2027 eligible commit to Michigan. Dude, what do you think?
I
Another
feel
one.
like
Are they
I
gonna
feel
keep it
like
rolling?
you may be you may be foreshadowing here a little bit. I mean, it's certainly
Who, me?
believable, because when are they not recruiting? They're never not recruiting. They're never not
Right.
adding. Obviously now having more people in that department. They have Kevin Reiter there, who was at the national team program as a player personnel guy. Obviously, has done
He
that. Then
does
you
good
add
work.
another staffer to the mix to continue to enhance that. Even though they lost Rob Rassi to Harvard, where he's going to be the head coach, he was a big recruiter for them,
Mhm.
obviously. So they've made bringing in Andrew Brewer. I have to say it's believable, but I don't know. What do you think? You seem to be the 2027 commit whisperer these days. What do you got?
I'm not gonna lie, I may have a little something in my back pocket on that one too. So I'm gonna say yes. It is quite believable that we might see another name that
Yeah.
that might be landed in Michigan here pretty soon. So we'll let everybody
Yeah,
kind of sniff around that as best they can.
yeah. I will say like the Big Ten allure that Michigan State, the Minnesota, Penn State, the things that they have, you can understand why they're having success at luring very high end players, and it's not just from the hockey standpoint; it's environmental as well, and there's just a lot going
Mhm.
on there. So college is fun, and school is back in session. And I live near a Big Ten school that I would love to see have hockey one day, uh, but I don't know if that'll happen. So anyway, all right, here's one for you. We're keeping the Michigan train rolling, but it's also Saginaw, Michigan. Dima Zhilkin will lead the OHL in
Mhm.
scoring this season. Dima Zhilkin. So there's a lot of candidates that could be in there. What do you think about Dima leading the league?
Yeah. So I'm trying to think who's going to be his top competitors that are coming back, right? There's a couple guys that we might see end up like in the AHL with the weird AHL rule, the guys that didn't move to school. There's a
Mhm.
couple guys that maybe could crack the NHL. Who are you thinking could be his main? Like, I mean, Klepov could be back there and be like a
That's the
big,
one.
pretty
So
big
that's the
rival to
one.
him. He just led the league in scoring already.
Yeah,
Right?
led the league in scoring already and has, I the thing is that I think with Anaheim, I don't know what their plan is going to be. And so that changes like, what happens. So, you know, I to me it's very believable that he could do it whether or not
Yeah.
those
Oh
guys come
yeah.
back. Because Saginaw is going to have a
Yeah.
team again. Like they always have a group
Yep.
that's going to produce, and they like, we've talked a lot about London and their success at developing first rounders, and even in down years it seems like they'll have one or two. Saginaw has been pretty tried and true in the high end guys that they've had. And it should be noted too, Chris Lazary, who was their coach last year, did go to Michigan. So that's the other
Uh-huh.
major personnel thing. And obviously they end up getting they get Zhilkin, and also magically Klepov,
Michigan State.
signs his contract, and he was supposed to go to Michigan State. I was like,
He was on campus.
let's get some
He was on
conspiracy.
campus.
Let's get
Yeah.
some conspiracy theories
Oh
going.
man.
But yeah, so
I like that.
I'm
I
gonna
like
say it's
that. Laz
believable.
is
But
just
yeah, but there's
whispering.
yeah. He's like, do you really want to go there? Do you really want to go head to head against me?
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's good stuff. All right, let's keep that Wolverine, that maize and blue gravy train going here with this last one.
Yeah, real quick though, is JOB, is he going to be in the American League next year? Is he going to be
I
is he
think,
going to
yeah,
be in
I
the
believe I
NHL?
believe
Is
that's
there yeah,
actually
he's probably in
been
the
like if
AHL.
he doesn't make the
Has it
roster,
been
he's in the
announced?
AHL. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
makes
if it's
total
been
sense,
announced, but
right?
I
So
think
I
that
was
that's essentially the plan. And then we also did. It was just reported that Caleb Denoye will not be going back to the QMJHL. It'll be AHL or
yeah.
NHL for him next year. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some guys that it just has to be, right? You just have to do that. But I was trying to think in my
Right.
mind, okay, well, then what about first rounders that didn't go to school that'll be coming back? And I'm like, Adam Novotny and Klepov are like the only two in the O that I could really like think of. So yeah, Zhilkin, he could absolutely have himself around like that. Okay, for me, Michigan wins a national championship for the first time in nearly 30 years. Now, we know it's believable, but Chris, I want a yes or a no answer from you on August 27th. So not early or anything.
Man, this is a tough one. So I'll take you through my rationale first. I don't want to give you the straight yes or no first because I think that it needs,
Let me hear
like,
it.
to me, their biggest competition is partially in state, but you lose Trey Augustine. I think that does hurt Michigan State to a certain extent. Ivan Kovic,
Yeah.
given the goaltending advantage, it's just hard to look at Denver too and be like, how can they not also be a legitimate contender again? How can North Dakota, with a year of experience with some of those guys and the quality that they have throughout their lineup? But if it's gonna happen, I think it's got to happen this year. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because I think I think that Hage is a legitimate Hobie Baker contender. I
Yeah.
do have some concerns about their blue line's overall ability to defend at an NCAA level as a group.
Mm.
but they have Jack Ivankovic, which is a nice safety net, I feel like, for that. They're gonna score. Their power play is probably gonna be one of the best in the country. If they can kill penalties at a high
Should be.
level, I think that they're gonna be fine. They have nothing but weapons, and I think that this is a team that is built that can outscore some of their deficiencies. They're gonna have the puck an awful lot. It's been a long time, and, 97, I believe, right, was their last national title,
98.
2027 in
Yeah.
Washington, DC.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see a little bit of maize and blue. So I'll say yes. I'm gonna preseason, yes. I reserve the
My
right to
man.
change my decision when I
No,
actually see what they look out on the ice in November, because October hockey lies in college hockey, just so everybody knows.
true. Yeah. I like it. I like putting the plant in the flag. I don't even know if I'm gonna answer it. I might just say congratulations on you. And just wonder and just wonder and just
You don't
wonder,
have to.
because you
Yeah.
named
Now it's
all
on
the good,
paper.
you named all the arguments, right? Now it's exactly right. Like you're taking Michigan against the field in August. And I love your bravery. I love it.
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
it's much appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of good
Yeah.
programs, and I think like Western Michigan is one that we probably don't talk about enough as a potential threat, even though they've had some losses from
Yep.
their last team, big gains that
Out
they've
of the
made, and
Knox
they're going to
heading.
be they're yeah. I mean, it's crazy, man. There's all sorts of like we didn't talk about BCBU. I think that they're both going to be in tough to be national championship contenders, but they're going to be good teams. I think you got to
Hmm.
watch out for kind of some of these dark horse teams as well.
Yeah.
Quinnipiac with Ethan Wittenbach. Like there's a lot of teams that can definitely make some noise here. So it's hard to win in college hockey, and it's hard to win it all unless you're Denver and you do it every couple of years. So
Yeah. Once every two
uh
years. Yeah.
yeah, by the way, one thing that I didn't mention in our previous discussion that I wanted to, I love what David Carl is saying, that college hockey has got to get out of the business of recruiting sophomores because they can commit when they're juniors in high school on August 1st. The hit rate on those players is so remarkably low in terms of players that will actually play for your program by that point. So he's like, let's get out of high school ranks, let's get into junior ranks. And I think that that is absolutely the right approach. Give those kids more time to develop. Hockey is set up to develop on a longer timeline. Let them develop. So
Man,
that's
that's
my
not
last
even
point
new
on that.
coming from DC either. Him and I had like an
No,
hour-long
he's
phone
wanted
call,
that for
like
a
partway
while.
through last season. And that was like the crux of the entire discussion, right? Like I was calling looking for like 5 minutes of chat to get some quotes for an article. And we ended up diving right into that. And that became like a big part of the story I wrote. Is it the same thing? It's like quit recruiting 15-year-olds. He's like, I want to know, can you play for me
Right.
next year, this season, or the season after? And that's it. Like that's all I want to worry about. Cause like who knows what's going to happen between the ages of 15 and 19, right? Like development is so wild. There's no need. It's completely needless. So I am fully on board with that.
Yeah, it's almost like the draft, like a little bit more like the draft, where it's like we should have a little bit of a better piece of information on that player, and that we're talking about looking what he can do in a couple of years. But yeah, it's crazy. So we'll see if
Mhm.
that holds. I can guarantee you, he will not be joined by all of his college hockey coaching brethren in that mission of only recruiting
No.
junior hockey players. But odds are you're going to get that player swiped anyway. So who
Yeah.
cares? All right.
Mm.
Let's move on to our final topic. It is you have to pick one. And this gets to the crux of the argument for a lot of players and the things that they have to decide. So, Cam, I'm going to ask you, would you rather play the extra year of junior or go to college, risk less playing time and scratches? Is it more important to you for the developmental, what you're in that position, you're a player that's kind of, on the you can definitely play and you might get 40 games in college next year, but it's not a guarantee, or you play that extra year
Mhm.
of junior, maybe dominate, maybe get that extra. What would you do if you were that player?
It's amazing because I had a parent at a U13 practice ask me that exact question. His kid was on the bubble for T1 or T2. And he's like, what are we really hoping for here? Are we hoping to be kind of that like last forward to make the top team and get the experience but not get the minutes? Or are we hoping to play down and really dominate and build on the skills? And that's going to be like an individual decision for every family. And when you get up to this level, for every kid. But in my mind, the way I'm reading this, if you are dominating junior hockey, you're getting minutes in college. So if you're not at that level yet, if you're not there to step in and like truly get into a lineup and like, yeah, maybe you're landing with the Spartans and it's like you're a first round pick, but your first year, you're still on the fourth line. That's okay. They're going to develop you. But if you're coming in and you're like fighting to legitimately get into the lineup, extra year of junior. Extra year of junior. Playing is so important for development. You need minutes, you need reps. And that's why I think the CHL offers a really intriguing package to different players, maybe not those elite 18, 19-year-olds, but that next wave of guys that are still going to play pro hockey is that you can not only play and play a lot here, you get to play 70 games, right? You don't even, you go to college and you're getting healthy scratch. You might get 20 games in a season, right? That's tough when you're an 18, 19-year-old. So I'm going extra year junior for this particular scenario.
I agree completely. I think, and this just like you were talking about, Cam, this goes all the way down to the youth levels. Are you chasing status or are you chasing development? Are you prioritizing I'm on the top team versus I'm getting tons of puck touches, I'm the top player on the lower team or the second team,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gaining confidence and I'm doing more things and I have more opportunity. I think, and this is really more a conversation for youth hockey than it is for college hockey, because I think that, ultimately
Mm-hmm.
players are going to have to make those decisions. And in some cases, going to college at that time, getting the weight training, sitting in the press box a little bit, but also still practicing with those high end players, getting those reps, that can help you. But there's something to be said for being the guy or being the top player or being a top player where you are given more responsibility, you're getting more power play time, you're getting all those different things. And for players that are just continually jumping teams, I also think there has to be a level of earning it. Like, there is a
Yeah.
developmental thing that you can do by earning more time and not just chasing wherever the better situation is. I think that there's a lot of different things that you can do, but if you are a youth hockey player, I would much rather you be the top 6 player on one team than a bottom 3 player on the upper team, and now you've got the status of that. Like, I think that that's something that you can definitely build your hockey skills better in those situations. You can arrive too early. I don't think I've ever seen anybody
Mm-hmm.
arrive too late. That's the thing. I've never seen somebody that was like, you know, over ripening happens more at the AHL level than it does at a lot of other levels. But I'd say like that is still a thing that you can do. Be ready to make an impact. Are you ready to play or are you ready to make an impact? Those are two different things. So,
Yeah, I'm with
I,
you.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, like I love, Cam, I think you and I both see it with the youth hockey too. Like it is all about like, oh man, if there's like in our club, there's a black team and a gold team and everybody wants to be on the black team. Like that's but it's like, yeah, but what happens if you're the best player on the gold team? You're more likely to make the black team next year, or you're making another, so like there's so many benefits to taking a step back. So don't be in a hurry to go everywhere. I think it's okay. So, um, love that. We covered a lot of ground here, Cam, a lot of wide ground, and this is going to be a topic that is only going to continue to accelerate. And there's going to be a lot of opinions, and there's going to be a lot of different things. I can't wait to dive into it, but I'm really looking forward. Really soon, Cam, we're going to start talking about actual hockey that is going to be played, and we're literally now weeks away from the start of the junior season. So cannot wait. Cam, what are you most excited about? What is coming up on Elite Prospects that all these good people need to know about?
Yeah, the big news is we have our draft ranking meetings coming up. So we'll have our preseason top 32 plus watch list coming out early September. We're already like going to dip into a little film room action, maybe a little Kate O'Rourke.
Let's
We'll
go.
look at like some under the radar prospects, and then we got all our season previews coming out too, right? That first week or two of September. So we'll preview those up, and so you're absolutely right. The season is already in effect. We already have something like 3,000 scouting reports on this draft class already from their D-1 and from tournaments and stuff. So we're definitely putting in the work and ready for a really big season of covering hockey here.
Love to hear it, man. I cannot wait. I think there's so much coming up. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot of season previews for a lot of our leagues that you're going to find on Flow. So OHL, QMJHL, USHL. Going to be dipping in over at the Fall Classic, which is in Chicago this year. That's going to be one of our first big junior events of the season. We're going to be doing a lot more too, even with like the CJHL and hockey across Canada. Flow has really become a big part of Canadian hockey with the amount of leagues that we have. So you'll see more from us on that. Make sure you're following those FloHockey socials as well. Tons of content coming out all throughout the summer as it has, and we'll be doing tons of preview content there, getting you guys excited for the season. There's so much to look forward to right now, including the 2027 NHL draft class, the number of drafted players that are returning to junior, and we will have a lot of that there. Also looking forward to that college hockey season. We've got Atlantic hockey, big game as well with a number of our independent partners, including Alaska Fairbanks, big series with Boston University. So can't wait to have that one on Flow as well. So lots to look forward to, lots to get to. But Cam, that's it for this week's episode. I cannot wait to continue talking as we get closer and closer. We'll have lots of season previews coming up right here on this podcast, making sure you guys are ready to go for 2026-27. For now, we're going to take it away and catch you guys next time. This is for Cam. I'm Chris. See you later, everybody.